So this is the Lime iMac that I've been working on in my previous videos. If you haven't seen those videos, I'll link them in the description below. So have a look. I did them in a live stream where I actually replaced the flyback of this iMac with a brand new one. Now, at the conclusion of the last live stream video, number 2, I got it working. It was working, but it was really blurry, like really blurry. But that problem is solved now, no longer blurry. And so in this video, what I'm going to do is just explain what I did to fix that, what I think is the problem with what I did before, and we'll put the case back on. Stick around. Okay, so now on the bench here, I've actually got the power supply that I put into the iMac in part 2 of the video. So it's got its repaired flyback on it, or replaced flyback, sorry, I should say. And yeah, so this is the one I installed. So what's driving that one? Well, obviously in part 2, I ripped out the other half of the analog board, and I actually swapped that one for this repaired one. At the conclusion of the video, obviously it was very, very blurry. You couldn't really see what was going on. And I then started to sort of troubleshoot where I thought the issue was. Because I did some more reading up on it, and really everything that I read suggested there shouldn't be an issue with replacing the 1017D flyback with this 103G one. So in theory, it should have worked, although it's not exactly documented anywhere, but in theory, it should have worked. So then I started messing around with this cable, because what I found is when I'd actually routed it through the iMac in that video, I'd routed it around the other side of the CRT. And obviously it's got this this solenoid thing here that protects it from interference and stuff. And I found if I was to move that, it caused a change in the blurriness level. Now, it didn't fix the blurriness level, but it definitely changed it. So then I started theorizing that either this was not routed properly. So I ended up pulling the thing out, putting it back in and routing it along the thing. That didn't really help. It actually, to be honest, it made the blur worse. But then I also started to think, well, maybe it's actually the length of this cable, because this is significantly longer than the OEM cable length. So to try and make sure I was okay, what I did is I ended up putting the one that I took out in part 2, the other analog board, back into the iMac, just to make sure I hadn't mucked anything else up, because I was a little bit worried that maybe I'd hit the CRT's adjustments on there, and that had caused the sort of blur issue that I was seeing. But it worked fine, apart from the fact that the flyback was still faulty in that other board and it kept turning off. But the image was not blurry and was crystal clear. So my next step was, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the flyback on that board with the other one, because I had 2 of these replacement flybacks. So that's what I did. So I basically swapped over the transistor and I swapped over the flyback on that board. Now this time what I did is this cable here, I actually routed down underneath that and along that way, so that it was basically like the OEM one, and cable tied that there to this plastic thing, so that it actually went in the correct direction. That meant when I put it in the iMac, it sort of flowed the correct way like the OEM one did, and that meant that was kind of roughly in the same place where the OEM one should be. I also made this cable significantly shorter. And like it's about the same length as the OEM. The other thing that I did differently was when I was installing this, you'll remember in part 1, there's a resistor down here, which you can just see there, that I kind of had to nudge out of the way because this flyback is slightly larger. Now, everything I tested on this, it works fine. Like, I've buzzed that out, I've traced it, it's still connected properly, it seems fine. So I don't think that's the issue, but what I ended up doing is on that other board, I removed that resistor completely. And this time I mounted it on the back of the board. So essentially the other one that's working now in there has that resistor, but just on the actual back of the printed circuit board. So that it stays clear, it's still connected, works fine. So they're the main changes I did. I did all that, put it back in the iMac, and it works. And like, it's got a good range of blur. Like, it starts off quite blurry and you turn it into the middle, it clears up really nicely, and you keep going further, it gets blurry again, which is about what you want from it. So I did that because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just a compatibility problem with this particular model of flyback on these boards, Rev 2 boards. So that's where we got to. That summarizes, I think, everything that I've done. I probably spent about 4 hours doing all of that. And so, yeah, now I'm left with that working in that board. So I'm going to put that back together. So that's good. This one I need to, what my intent is with this is to basically remove that resistor, mount it on the back of the board like what I've done with that, and shorten this cable up. And then I'll test this out in another iMac. I don't want to test fate too much by taking this, doing all that, putting that one back in there. That one's working now. I want to button that one up and get it all finished and back together. So this one will be another repair. The other possibility, even though this is a brand new flyback, it may be faulty. I don't know, like, this is an old, like, it's new old stock. So it's not, it wasn't like it was manufactured 2 years ago or something like that. It was manufactured in the early 2000s, about 2003, 2004. So this could actually be faulty. There would be, I would imagine, some degree of acceptable failure rate on these when they were manufactured, that like they would sometimes come out faulty. So it's possible that this one just could be a faulty one. But I want to do all those changes, and we'll see whether that actually helps. So that's where we're at today. So today, I'm not going to do that today. That's a future problem. Not in a massive rush to get this one working, but I do definitely want to try and close that problem out to see if I can work out what it is. Today, what we're going to do is bring that iMac back over here and put it back together again. Okay, so here we go. We've got it back on the bench. As you can see, the board is installed. Everything looks good. I've already secured this in. When I was testing it, I put that all back in. So that is basically where we're at. What I've actually put on the video here, just below me here, you can see the PDF, which is the service manual, which is what I was using originally to pull this apart. I'm now just going to use that in reverse just to make sure I put this back together in the correct order. They actually amazingly have really good take apart instructions. So we're on page 88, which is the part of where I've got it to this stage here. So we're just going to go backwards. And effectively, the first thing I need to put back on is the shield on the outside of it, which I have right here. So, again, if you don't know what you're doing with this, you should not be messing around inside one of these. Obviously you should discharge it before you actually do anything, which I have actually just discharged this one before, just to make sure. I put my screwdriver in underneath that cap. There was nothing there, so it's good to go. So now we just need to get this into position, which from memory just takes a smidge of finagling to get it in. And I think from memory, I need to line it up with these two screws here. There's some little basically lips that these holes here click into. Somewhere, there it is. There's that one. There we go. Let's just click down. So they're both in. Holes all look like they're lining up pretty well. Yes, excellent. The difference between this video and the last one too, I remembered I've got this turntable, which makes it very easy to do work on big heavy CRTs like this. So I fished it out from where I had it in storage, and I'm using it. So, you know, as part of testing for this, obviously I did the whole swap thing yesterday, of the boards, I mean. And I actually today ran this iMac all day. So it's been running happily without issue for probably a good 9 hours. And this, I mean, the way this was behaving with the faulty analog board in it, it was, you'd be lucky if you got half an hour out of it before the, it would obviously short out and cut power to itself. So, hence why I'm feeling reasonably optimistic enough to put this all back together again now. Because I don't really want to have to pull it apart again. That would be quite annoying. I actually have another one of these which I need to do some work on anyway. It's got its power supply is fine, and so it doesn't need its flyback replaced. But I think when I do that, I may use that one as my testing chassis to try and get that other board working without blur. I can tell you what, I was 100% relieved when I powered this one up and it looked significantly better. I watched the video back and it actually, to be honest, from the video you can't really see the blur, but in person it was terrible. And after I ended that video and played around with it, it got worse. And also it was flickering as well. Like there was this weird sort of, not the same sort of sparky flickering that it was doing before, but it was kind of like the picture was quivering. So I don't know, I'm not 100% convinced if the problem is with the way I cabled it, or something I did wrong there, or what. But we'll work that out. I'm going to go put these two in. I nearly forgot these two. I just looked in there and I was like, I've still got 2 more screws left. Where did they go? I feel like Steve Jobs, when they made this iMac, was like, the first thing he sort of said to these designers, like, I need to get this stupid metal chassis off it so you can actually see inside it, which is then what they did in the next version of it. As well as remove the fan, which, I mean, by all accounts, he is very much rumoured not to like fans. But that probably wasn't the best thing to do to that poor old slot loader iMac, because they just got really hot. Okay, there we go. All right, metal chassis back on. Going backwards. Where are we now? EMI shield. Yes, that's back on. Now we put our lime green chassis back on, which I have sitting here. Now, memory, that just goes over there like that. And needs to go like that. That needs to come out a bit. That needs to come out a bit, and that slots in underneath that like that. That goes in those holes. And that one goes in those holes. And then we just push it down to make it lock in. There we go. Instantly, significantly safer. Obviously, like I said, you shouldn't be messing around inside one of these unless you know what you're doing. But if you do have them open, you just have to be really careful not to touch anything. You really, ideally, shouldn't have them turned on, but sometimes you have to do work to test them. So, all right, so that just shows you where I removed the tabs. Yep. Okay, we need to put those screws back in up here. The other one thing that has changed since this last video, the CD-ROM drive is missing. I had to do a repair job on that. I think in all of my moving it around, it fell off and the plastic clips were broken, which was unfortunate. So I don't know how much of that I did in that video, or whether that was just I made a problem that is slowly happening worse. But I have fixed it. I got them off and I re-glued them back on. So I'm hoping I can click that back on. Uno momento. And our little plastic tab thingies, one goes in there. And the other one goes in there. Okay, going backwards. Okay, so we need to put the base back in. All right. I'm going to have to do some shuffling to do that because I need to flip the thing over. Now, the one thing I had is obviously different from when I dismantled it. It's still got the computer board back in, the logic board back in here. So we're just going to remove this module for the moment. Because I don't think we can put the back on with that still in place. Okay. So I've put that back in there. I think the plastic's sitting a bit brittle, but it will do for the moment. You don't really need it. Okay, slight jump cut because I realized something with these instructions. Obviously I've got the logic board out now, or logic unit out. And these instructions are a little bit deceptive because it starts to talk about this, but technically speaking, I have to go a bit further deeper because you have to put the front bit on first before you then put the base on. It's just the way that they've structured this dock. It actually is a bit of a gotcha. So let's just insert that in there like that. And then we just slowly push in from the top. Do this side, top two, and then we've just got the last bottom one here. There, and last one there. There we go. Nice and secured. And then we need to insert those two screws. Now, from memory, these were the smaller ones. So there's two different lengths of these screws. The long ones and the slightly smaller ones. Actually, they're both exactly the same. Oh yeah, these seem to work. they're definitely all just the same. I thought there was 2 shorter ones, but I appear to be wrong. So, now that we've got that, Lazy Susan is good, but not great for putting that front on. So I'm just going to hang it over the edge a bit here, like that. And then we just need to move these cables out of the way. Take that down the bottom. Clips in. Just make sure that looks like it's all in place. Yep, all right. So hold on, we'll just go back to that section of the guide. Back up this way. There it is. So now we just need to put those screws back in. Now, and the swap. And we've only got 2 more screws left, and they are to secure the logic board back in there. Okay, look at that. One thing I'm going to take this opportunity before I put this back in to, as I mentioned in my last video, change the battery over. So, okay, so what we're going to replace this battery with is one of these, a CR2032 toaster, which someone shared on GitHub, downloaded the schematics for it, and got it printed, and then you just have to put one of these coin cell batteries on it, and that will be a lot less likely to leak than one of those. The only downside I find of these, they do seem to go through power maybe a little bit more, and not quite as long life as maybe one of these, but for the purpose of what we're doing here, this is all good. All right, so we're just going to pop him out and pop this one in like that. Put the battery over there. And we'll just do a voltage read on it just to make sure it's actually giving us 3.319 volts. So 3.3 volts in there. That's good. The amount of these logic boards that have these batteries in them. Where are we? Maxwell. Blow up, destroy your computer battery. Funnily enough, that one that I just showed you is fully charged. I think the iMac that I recovered that one out of literally must have spent its entire life plugged in and never ever really had to use that. So it's still holding full charge, and I feel like that's the definitive factor on those batteries is what their life has been like. Because I've seen a mixture of these computers destroyed by leaky batteries, and Others with them still in there, no problems. I put that cover back on just to complete it, and it doesn't need to go on there, but it just finishes things off nicely. So we'll hook that up there like that. Alright, so move those out of the way and drop this down. Ow! Oh, finger. Ow. That one goes in there like that. That plastic sits on there like that. That slots in there like that. That hooks in underneath that and plugs into the VGA. Oh, that really hurt my finger. All right, last two screws. I'd be interested to see if this Mac lost its time. The brief couple of seconds that it was without battery in it. All right. It's all back together. Now we need to slot our cover back in. So let's just have a look at our guide. We're past all that again. There we go. Yeah, we didn't unplug any of that. And we've already attached that. And we put that back in there. We didn't do anything with the fan, so skip. And we didn't do anything with those. Oh, I see. So that's how that CD-ROM holds onto this. Now that actual bottom bit is missing on this. But I think it's been missing for a while because this always had a bit of a thing. Oh, I'm bleeding. That's not great. Okay, another jump cut. I now have a band-aid on my finger. Minor skin graze, but it was bleeding. So now this just slots in like that. That didn't go in the hole that it was supposed to go in. Like that. There we go. You just push it down into that, and then it sort of clips in, and then that should clip in there. That all clips in like that. And that screw goes back in there. Like that. And we're back together. So now, moment of truth. Let's see if it still works after all of that. I haven't got the CD-ROM cover back on yet. Give it some power. Okay, still chiming, that's a good sign. High voltage kicks in. And there we are, nice and working in focus. Obviously it looks on the screen image there, looks around the wrong way, but that all looks nice and clear. Now, where's this CD-ROM eject button? There it is there. And that screw that it's talking about in that section, so that I actually need to try and glue onto the front of the CD drive. So I might do that because that way I can put it back properly and have it properly secured. Because I think before what I found was that CD-ROM drive door was bowing outwards. So my guess is that's been broken for a while. But if I can glue that back on, which looks like it's had a pretty clean break, that will be a better outcome. So I'll have to get some super glue and do that. So we're not going to put that back on right now. I'm going to push that back in there so that's nice and secure and don't damage the drive. But apart from that, this is now our fully repaired iMac G3. Oh, don't lose my new screw. There's the little screw. Pop him in there so don't lose him as well. And we'll fix that. All right, now I need to move it back over there. All right, so now back over here and let's give it some power. High voltage kicking in again. Sounds good. There we go. Booting up. Now I've set the brightness of this screen so that it's not maximized. Obviously did that on the flyback, and I generally set the brightness to a nice sort of bright level on the flyback when it's sitting middle of the road on the actual iMac itself in the settings, in the software settings that you can do in here. And then I just generally, when I'm using it, I just turn it down a little bit lower. So, and good news, this did keep the time. So it's still got the right date and right time. And if we go to monitors, yeah, so it's sort of set on the low side there, but I can bump it up to medium. That's full brightness up there, but I'll put it about a little bit below halfway. And contrast looks all right. Contrast is normally okay to be up pretty high. That's looking good. So we're back in business, apart from just putting that faceplate back on the front there. So there we have it. The iMac is back in business. Now that I've got the case back on it, I'll let that run again for a few days just to make sure that it is all hunky-dory. And all being well, job will be done on that. I just need to, as I said a minute ago, just put the cover back on the CD drive, which I will do once I just try reattaching that little bit of plastic onto the front there so that actually can screw in. So I'll have a go at doing that. I might do a short video basically putting that back on. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this follow-up to my live streams where we've actually got it working, and definitely proves that you can replace the 6174, what are they? 6174Z 1017D flyback transformer with the 617-4Z1003G. And it works. I will also in future, I'll do probably a shorts video as well, once I work out if that other flyback I can fix and get rid of the blurring problem. So I will troubleshoot that some more over the next few weeks, and I'll do a shorts video once I work that one out with an update on it. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, comments down below. Let me know what you think, any feedback or thoughts around the whole thing. Otherwise, have a great day, and I'll talk to you all soon. See you later.